to the Illini Basketball Postgame Show from No One Asked Us. He's Craig Choate. I am Logan Lee, coming to you a mere minutes after the Illinois defeat on the road. Illinois win on the road. I guess they defeated Michigan 93-85 in Ann Arbor. Welcome in to No One Asked Us. Don't forget to give us a follow at No One Asked Us Pod. He's at Craig W. Choate. I'm at the Logan Lee. Shoot us an email at nooneaskedus2021@gmail.com. Chime in, subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. All of it is very much appreciated. Little thumbs up on the YouTube would go a long way for us. So thank you for tuning into this. It was a fun one. It was a fun one in Ann Arbor. The Illini do pull away. Took a while for them to really kind of, turn it on down the stretch and actually put Michigan away, but they did come out on top. Craig, how you doing, man? You good? How's your dog?
As soon as you toss it to me, they start barking. I had the whole thing. As soon as you tossed to me, I was just gonna go onions, because Bill Raftery on the call. Trent Frazier went big old onions on Michigan for the second time. First time was Michigan State. This time it's Michigan. Yeah, I'm in a good mood. It was a pretty good game. Pretty good game for the most part. There was like a 4-minute stretch that I did get very nervous. Of course,
but there always is. Yes, big time onions from Trent Frazier. Love Raftery. Love Iron Eagle too. Love this CBS.
Have I ever told you I have a selfie with Bill Raftery?
I believe we've talked about this. Yes,
he was leaving. He was leaving a game at the State Farm Center, and I was running down to do the post game or something, and he was literally like about to walk out the door, and I yelled at him. He was probably 20 yards away from me, and I got his attention and asked for a picture. And yeah, I don't think I've ever posted it anywhere, but I've got it.
Did you have to sprint to him, or?
He just kind of stayed where he was, and I said something about, like, had some sort of short conversation with him, walking up to him, and then took a picture and he left.
Okay. Well, good for you. Love Raftery, love Iron Eagle, love an Illinois W. It was fun. We'll go over some of the stats here real quick before we get into some of the nitty gritty. Kofi with a team high 27 points. He finished with 7 rebounds as well. Kind of a quiet 27 for him. I honestly wouldn't have guessed that's how many he scored. I wasn't really watching the live stats most of the game. I knew he had about 12 points at halftime or something like that. And then I look at the final stats and he finished with 27. So a quiet 27 for Kofi, including the exclamation point towards the end off the alley-oop from Trent Frazier. Alfonso Plummer, 26 points, all of which I believe in the first half.
I had 23 at half, I think.
Oh, 23 at half. Okay.
He hit 1 3 in the second half.
Okay.
The only 3 Illinois took it.
We could talk about that in a minute, but he did finish with 26 points. He was 6 for 9 from 3. Trent Frazier finished with 17 points. He was huge down the stretch as always. Andre Curbelo had a good game out of him. 12 points for Curbelo to go along with 3 assists. He did have 4 turnovers. Something else we can touch on here shortly. On Michigan side, Devontae Jones topped their scorers 25, Caleb Houston at 21, 13 and 11 for Hunter Dickinson, and then 12 points and 5 boards for Musa Diabate. Michigan, of course, 2 games out of their melee in Madison, or whatever they were calling it, that they had a player suspended for their most recent game earlier this week, and they weren't out for this game. But of course, Juwan Howard wasn't there. Don't know that it really made a difference, but either way, Illinois comes out on top of this one. Let's talk about a few things. Trent Frazier, I think we just need to start there. I don't know what else we can say about him. He's the guy. He is the guy. But really, in clutch minutes, though, him and Kofi, they've really done a lot. I don't really know that we would have thought of Kofi being a clutch player. I don't know that you think about post players doing that, but down the stretch, the ball's going to go to one of their hands. And Trent, on what appeared to maybe be another broken possession, I'm not really sure what happened at that one. He just kind of dribbled around and was just waiting for it. Got the chance at the buzzer and hurled up a 3 to put Illinois up 8 points or whatever it was at that point. But I just want to start with the clutch stuff because that's proven to be huge down the stretch in these games, something that you're going to need to see more of. Are you more comfortable now with this team than you were, say a week ago? Where are you feeling? How are you feeling?
I wouldn't say comfortable because this is the first game in a while that they didn't go on a drought and allow the other team to go on a 15+ point run. So I'm not comfortable, but I am more comfortable in late game situations. Going into this season, we were all worried about who's going to pick up the clutch IO buckets. IO hit 17 or however many field goals under a minute of one possession games. I put that set together last year. He hit a ton, more than a dozen, probably more than 15 of them. And we weren't sure who was going to do that. And now 2 times in the last 8 days, Trent Frazier has just doesn't really back his defender down, but he gets going downhill and the defender starts backing up a little bit and he just stops on the dime and pops a 3 in his face. And he's always had it. He just didn't have to do it. So now he's the guy now, and he's taking advantage. In our group chat during the game, I said, I'm going to miss Trent Frazier so damn much. And that was earlier in the game. That was before he did that. And then after the game, I tweeted Trent Frazier is my savior. Like, he's just we talked about it 2 months ago. Io is the most important piece of this Illini rebuild, or he's the face of this rebuild, but Trent is the most important player to come through Illinois since everything turned for the worse in like whatever year it was. He has been so important, and we can't say it enough. And he is finally getting some national recognition. Normally, like late nights, I'll listen to the Field of 68 or I'll listen to Tate and Frazier, which I did last night for the first time in a while. I hadn't listened to them in a long time. And a buddy told me that I should listen to their episode from Thursday because they opened with the Ohio State, Illinois recap. So I listened to that. Everyone's talking about Trent now. Tom Izzo is praising Trent Frazier. Chris Holtman praising Trent Frazier. So finally people are noticing, and I'm glad. It only took 5 years, but yeah, it's the dude is just he's a baller. He's a gamer.
Do you wish he would take more shots? Because I do. I wish he would take more shots. Granted, he did finish with 17 today. He was 3 for 3 from 3. So not a quiet game by any means, but I feel like there are games where he waits till the end to really become a scorer. I mean, he's doing a lot of other things. He's the facilitator. He's the primary ball handler. He's always guarding the other team, one of the other team's top players. I understand he's doing a lot more than just scoring. But there are times where I wish he would do more scoring early on in games. Lately, he hasn't really had to. Plummer and Grandison have kind of taken over a good chunk of the early scoring from the guard play, which was obviously the case again tonight with Plummer scoring 23 points in the first half. But I do at times wish he would shoot more than he does. But again, I'll take what he gives us, especially if it means putting other teams away on the road in the Big Ten, because that's just as important as anything. But yeah, Trent will continue to be the guy, and he's going to be the guy the rest of the season, and they're going to need him to be. He's wonderful. He is now 5th all time in scoring at Illinois, officially passed Brian Cook today. Brian Cook, the player that you and I both grew up watching a lot of at Illinois.
That might have been, I think he was one of my first autographs. I went to an FCA camp in Champaign during the fall of 2002, maybe 2001, 2002. And we were in Huff Hall for some kind of rally, and yeah, we all got t-shirts, and he signed my t-shirt for me, and I never wore that thing. Don't know where it is now, but I never wore it. I remember it was folded up on top of my dresser where you could see the autograph. But yeah, I remember that. I'll always remember that.
So Trent now, after he passed Brian Cook, is now alone in 5th place all time in school history. The next step, let me do some quick math here. The next person to pass is D. Brown with 1812, 1,812 points. That's what D has. Trent's 51 points away from fourth place in school history in scoring. So definitely within reach. Several more games to play here on this season. So good for Trent. He continues to carry this team. Doesn't have to be the leading scorer, but he's certainly the most important scorer on this team. Alfonso Plummer, he for the second straight game, he was lights out in the first half from three. 23 points in the first half, finished the game 6 for 9 from three, 26 points in total. He was nowhere to be found late in the game, which I think you can credit to a few things.
Yeah, I want to talk about that here in a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to talk about that now or do you want to wait?
Mine's more so the team as a whole, so we can wait.
Okay. Well, we'll cover that in a minute then. I'm a little concerned about Omar Payne.
Yeah.
If we want to get into some of the negative stuff, I don't know if that's something we want to talk about now or not.
Before we move on to that though, Scott Ritchie did some research at halftime. And he tweeted it out. Considering Omar Payne just scored 23 points in the first half, here's his scoring breakdown by half in the previous
Plummer.
5 games. What'd I say?
You said Omar Payne.
Alfonso Plummer. Yeah.
Got it.
So Purdue, 14 points in the first half, none in the second half. Northwestern, 16 points in the first half, 3 in the second half. Rutgers, 4 in the first, none in the second. Michigan State, 6 in the first, 2 in the second. And Ohio State, 18 in the first, 8 in the second. And now he goes 23 in the first, 3 in the second. That's not all his fault. I think people are realizing, he's a great shooter and they're really running him off the line and they're really locking him down in the second half. So not all on him, but you would like to see a little more consistency.
We'll talk about that. Before we get to that, there was the one, it wasn't a drought, but there was the point in the second half where Illinois had, I would say, probably a 12-point lead that, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, that evaporated down to like a 2-point lead at one point. Again, this wasn't a big drought that Illinois went on where they weren't making baskets. They obviously were missing some and they had some turnovers and Michigan was hitting, but Illinois continues to struggle when it comes to putting teams away. I don't want to say I'm super concerned about it, but we're getting to the end of the season. I mean, at this point, after these next 2 games this coming week, which we'll get to at the end of the season, every game is win or go home. So I get a little concerned about some of this stuff with, I would have loved to have just seen them at the 12, when it was a 12-point game, balloon that into a 16-point lead and just kind of let that ride. But Michigan fought their way back. Credit to Michigan, first and foremost. Michigan is a talented team. We knew they would be, but they have not really shown that on the records on the win-loss column this year. Yeah. It's been Hunter Dickinson and not much else. But they do have the talent, obviously.
Their guards aren't great.
No, they're not.
They've got Dickinson and Houston and Diabate. Eli Brooks is pretty good. Devontae Jones has his moments, but I think Kobe Buffkin had a big bucket, but they just don't have the guards. Stretch you were talking about, it was 74-59 with 9:32 left. And then it was 82-80 with 2 minutes left. So 7 minutes and 38 seconds. It was 21-11 Michigan run. So not a huge run, but it went from 15 to 2 in that span or something like that. So
it's just concerning. It's just concerning. It's this team has a lot of strengths when we get to March because we are pretty much in March now. So I think we can start looking ahead to that a little bit. So it is a little concerning. I just wish that they would just show a little bit more at that point. Just give you a little bit more confidence.
The broadcast even talked about it. Raftery kept saying, Illinois is not putting them away. Michigan's hanging in there. Illinois won't put them away. He said it 4 or 5 times. Like, this game's not over yet.
They continue to do it. But yeah, that's just kind of something to keep in mind, and hopefully they're able to improve that. Because as I said, after these 2 games coming up this week, at that point, everything is win or go home, whether that's the Big Ten tournament or the national tournament. You're not going to be able to afford to do that. against teams better than Michigan, which at some point you're going to see that again. So that's really the biggest concern, I think, out of this game. It was a pretty solid Illinois victory from beginning to end, short of that 5 minutes or so in the second half where they weren't able to put them away.
I'm keeping up with the live tweeting from the post game, and Underwood said, "Tonight's the first night I felt the balance. The ball screen offense, post options. Tonight was the most comfortable I felt as a coach on that side of the ball in a long time." I would tend to agree.
I would agree too. Most everything was clicking in this game. Fouls weren't really an issue, which was nice.
There was a lot called. It seemed to be a lot called. But wasn't the worst officiated game we've seen.
They made a point during the broadcast early on in the second half that there wasn't any one player that had more than one foul.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. Yeah, it was spread out.
It was very spread out. I thought Coleman had two at one point, but I guess he didn't.
I mean, it changed. Yeah,
right. No, I mean obviously they did.
Had four. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a very balanced game. I do think they were clicking just about everywhere for the most part the whole game, which was nice to see. We've been waiting for this team to show a full 40 minutes. You can maybe say they played a full 35 today, but they're closer. They're closer to a full 30 or full 40. You want to talk about the roster stuff that we were kind of hinting at with the minutes and who's playing down the stretch? And because
that's what I was going to say when we were talking about something I wanted to talk about later in the show.
Let's do this. You start, because I think we might be on the same page here.
I mean, we're seeing what this team, the rotation is and should be. You know, you got your starting five, DeMonte's included. But if you look at the minutes, Trent and Kofi are the only players that played 30 or more minutes with 39 and 34. Grandison played 29. Coleman Hawkins played 26. Plummer played 23. Curbelo played 20. But DeMonte only played 17 total. So you're getting your first half with the core, like 5 starters, plus a little bit of Hawkins and Curbelo with some other sprinkled in there, like 8 or 9 deep. And then once it gets in the second half, the last 5 minutes of a game, Plummer's not on the court. Williams isn't on the court. It's Frazier, Curbelo, Hawkins, Grandison, and Kofi, because Plummer can't guard anyone and DeMonte can't score. Yep. So you got to have 5 guys in clutch time, the last 5 minutes. You got to have 5 guys that can do both. And right now, the 5 that are on the court are the 5 that can do both.
Yes. I think we're to the point where we're seeing a 7-man rotation. You're going to get a little bit of minutes out of Omar. You're going to get a few minutes out of Luke Goody. Just
Melendez when he comes back.
Breathers. Yes, a healthy RJ Melendez will get into that mix too, but it's going to be pretty much 7 deep. You know, I mentioned it, I think, on our last show, because I thought we were going to see Curbelo at the end of that game, the Ohio State game, but he wasn't on the court at the end of that game. It was Plummer, I believe. It's going to be a matchup thing. It's going to be a scenario thing. If they need the points, they're probably going to have Plummer on the court. Yeah. But when you have the lead, you're probably going to stick with Curbelo. Curbelo he looks like he's turning a corner.
This is the best we've seen out of Andre in a long time. I don't know that it was as good as the Purdue game when he came back, the home game against Purdue. He played really well that game, but this is the best we've seen of him this season. Other than that, got to cross your fingers though, because he did go down late.
I mean, I like this rotation. Mm-hmm. I really do. I like those mainly those 7. I think it makes a lot of sense. Having Andre Curbelo and Coleman Hawkins coming off your bench is huge. I mean, that's just, Coleman has done so much the past couple of weeks. I thought he was dead in the water. I thought that was a lost cause, inevitable transfer, like just done. And whatever conversation him and Brad Underwood had a couple weeks ago, whenever it was, clearly changed some things, because he has been huge. I mean, they have needed him. He's played the 4, he's played the 5. Today he hit a pullback 3.
Step back 3,
had the step back 3, had the nice somewhat alley-oop to himself which is probably the play of the day.
Yeah, I forgot about that in the first half. He missed a shot.
Yeah,
he missed it. He missed it bad.
He has a really bad shot
off the front of the rim.
Part of me thinks he did it intentionally.
But
yeah,
also,
he's been huge.
Trent hit the shot, but Coleman Hawkins got the offensive rebound off of a missed Grandison shot with 1 minute left.
At the end, yes.
1 minute, 3 seconds left. Or
yes.
1 minute, 7 seconds left. This says Grandison misses a 3, 103. Coleman Hawkins gets the offensive rebound.
Oh, yeah. That was the same possession, wasn't it?
Another 20 seconds for the shot clock. And then Trent hits the 3 to go up by 7. So it's Coleman Hawkins, he didn't make the shot, but it's because of him that Trent got the shot.
Yeah. I like this. I like this rotation. You get Melendez back here at another. I mean, I don't know if we'll see him this week. Probably won't see him this week, but
yeah, I would say he.
I don't anticipate him being much of a factor the rest of the year. I think they're going to be pretty set with their 7. He could get in there and steal a couple minutes from somebody, but at this point, it's going to be crunch time. You're going to have the Big Ten tournament starting in just over a week, and then it's the NCAAs. So, but yes, I like this rotation. They showed this was one of their most complete games in a long time today, playing at the right time. Your last road game of the season. At this point, everything is either a home game or a neutral site tournament game. So, lot to look forward to, but definitely a nice one to get, especially coming off the weekend that was in college basketball, and coming off the Illinois loss on Thursday to Ohio State, because that game was ugly. All right. Anything else from this game that we want to touch on before we move into standings and schedule and all that stuff?
Yeah, but I'm going to go on a tangent and I don't want to. Did you see that WCIA
it's going to be about
okay.
No, yes, I did see that.
WCIA was denied a spot on the floor to shoot the game. I've been in TV I was in TV for like 8 years. I have never once seen them deny someone to sit or the ability to shoot the game. I've seen venues where they didn't have any room on the floor, so they put you somewhere else. Michigan didn't have any room on the floor, but they didn't allow WCIA to shoot anywhere else. So they sent Andy Olson up to Ann Arbor, Michigan, and he couldn't even shoot the game. He sat in the press row up in the upper deck with like all the writers, the Illini Inquirers and Scott Ritchie News Gazette and all those guys. He sat up there and tweeted, wasn't able to shoot the game. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, that's so I don't even know what the word is. That's a terrible look for Michigan. Terrible.
Let me ask you a question. At what point do you know that that's happening?
I kind of thought that.
Did he know that before he left? Did they tell you that? Like, when you're giving your credential, or did he find out when he got there that he wasn't going to be able to shoot this game? Because I think those are two different things.
I thought that too.
Not that it's fair either way. I don't like it either way, but I would be curious to know how that worked.
I thought about that when I saw his picture. And yes, they should have known that he was denied or so I think the issue was he was granted a credential, but then you get there and they have a chart in the press room of where your spot is. So my guess is he got there, didn't see himself, went to talk and say, hey, where am I supposed to go? And they said, oh, we don't have a spot for you. And they're like, well, you got to figure something out. Because I have a hard time believing that WCIA and Brett would send Andy to Ann Arbor if he wasn't able to shoot the game. So my thought is that they did not. My thought is they got approved for the credential thinking everything was good, and then he got there and didn't have a spot. That's my thought, but I could be totally wrong. I know what you thought I was going to talk about, though. And I don't want to talk about that because that'll go on a. I do want to talk about it, but we've already gone like 25 minutes here, so.
Okay. Whatever. All right, real quick. Let's just look ahead. Illinois has 2 games left on their schedule. Both of them are home games. Thursday, hosting Penn State, a game that Craig will be at. So we will have a live, or not a live, we'll have a report from the field. Our show will probably look a little different on Thursday. Craig will
Logan's
probably be
getting into the editing
from his car. Sort of. I don't know that I don't think this show is going to look or sound nearly as good as it normally does on Thursday, but we will have a show for you on Thursday. And then Sunday, they close out the regular season as they host Iowa, a rather surging Iowa team.
Yeah.
A team that about a week or two ago we thought was going to be a walk in the park. But they're playing pretty well of late. So that's how Illinois closes out the season. Both of those games are at home. These Big Ten standings had some turnover yesterday. Purdue did lose yesterday at Michigan State. So they are now 13-5, the same exact record as Illinois. Both of those teams now trail Wisconsin, who did win last night, barely at Rutgers. Both of those teams trail Wisconsin by one game in the standings. Ohio State, who is currently playing, and right now, as we record this, is losing on the road at Maryland at halftime. So we'll have to see what happens with Ohio State, but this is still, before the Ohio State finish, this is still very much a 4-team race in the Big Ten. But real quick, coming up in the schedule, this week, we talked about Illinois. They have Penn State and Iowa. Wisconsin and Purdue play each other Tuesday night. So one of those teams, probably Wisconsin, is going to lose on Tuesday night. So that will, if it is Wisconsin that loses, that's going to bring this back to a potentially 3 or 4 team race again. So Wisconsin has Purdue Tuesday, and then they have Nebraska on Sunday, I believe, Saturday or Sunday. So that's how they close out their schedule. Purdue has Wisconsin, and then they host Indiana on Saturday. And then Ohio State still has 3 games left after today. They have the Maryland game, which I mentioned is happening right now. Then they host Nebraska, host Michigan State, and host Michigan. All 3 games of those are next week. So a lot still to take place.
There's no way they went out. There's no
I guarantee Ohio State does not win out. No, I was saying that to myself yesterday. 4 games in that long. No, they might lose today. So they're already losing by 4 at halftime. Yeah. So no, Ohio State, I'm certain will not win out. I think Illinois has a good chance of winning out. And then it's a matter of who wins that Wisconsin-Purdue game. If Wisconsin wins that game, Wisconsin takes the Big Ten title on their own. If Wisconsin loses that game, it could very much be a 3-team race. At that point, does everybody get a share of it, or is it going to go down to matchups? Because
everyone shares. Everyone's named co-champ.
Even if Purdue beats both of those teams.
Yes. If you have the same record, you are a co-champ. But
when it comes to
seeding wise, yes, there will be tiebreakers. If
there is a 4-team seeding tie, theoretically, if all 4 of those teams tie with the best record,
so it would
Illinois only has the advantage. Illinois only has the advantage over Wisconsin.
So it would
in
require,
that scenario.
What is it? Purdue to beat Wisconsin, correct?
Yes.
Purdue to beat Indiana. Illinois to beat Iowa. Purdue. Okay, so this would be if everyone is
Illinois going 2-0, Purdue going 2-0, and Wisconsin going 1-1.
I'm going to say Ohio,
a 3-way tie.
Who's Ohio State more likely to lose to? Michigan State or Michigan? Both are at Ohio State. They're both home games.
Michigan State. I don't know. They might just lose this game.
Win the other 3. We'll just give them the odds. If there is a 3-team tie atop the Big Ten, Purdue gets the 1 because they defeated Illinois and Wisconsin based on round robin record. Wisconsin gets the 2. With Illinois lost to Purdue based on round robin record 1 and 2, defeated Illinois based on winning percentage against the number 4 team. That's what this website says. So if all the teams tie, it goes to round robin record. Purdue would be 3-1. Illinois and Wisconsin would be 1 and 2.
It would be round robin in
those 3.
Right. Okay.
And then the tiebreaker between Wisconsin and Illinois, because both will be 1 and 2 in the round robin, would be the record against the 4 team, which would be Ohio State. And Wisconsin went 1-1 against Ohio State. That's what this website has. And I go to it every year. So I think it's right.
It probably is. Either way, seeding is still very much up in the air. Illinois could be anywhere from a 1 to a 4. in the Big Ten tournament. We'll have to see how things play out. They could also probably be a 5 in theory if they lost both these games, but let's just not have that happen.
Yeah.
Okay. That is going to be it. Unless you have anything else you want to rant about or discuss or
no,
whatever.
I think we've talked about enough. We've gone for 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, we're going to shut it down then. One last time, Illinois takes down Michigan in Ann Arbor, 93-85. They will then head home and play Penn State on Thursday and Iowa to close out the season on Sunday. This has been an Illini Postgame Show from No One Asked Us. He's Craig Choate. I'm Logan Lee. Give us a follow on all of our social medias. Give us a like, a subscribe, all that stuff on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you're listening to this podcast. For Craig, I'm Logan. We'll see you next time. Bye.